Welcome to another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review. I'm Steve Gamashima. We have this time, and my apologies for the pronunciation, is the Tsunehisa AUS8 Tsushime, which is hammered Santoku 180mm knife. This is completely different than the 210 Gyuto I just did on the previous knife. I'm in a batch here, but different finish, different look to it. So the way these are constructed is multiple layers. So they've got a soft stainless cladding that's got a hammered pattern in it and a hardcore cutting edge steel. That steel is known as AUS8, might even be 8A, AUS8 stainless steel. Heat treats probably 59, maybe 60 Rockwell. And that steel is used a lot in outdoor knives and some other kind of edged tools, and so that's known to have a pretty good combination of resiliency and robustness with also the ability to sharpen it pretty easily. So, this is not what you call a high-end powdered metallurgy steel, but it's also, a good quality steel that is a bit forgiving. So there's a target market for this, and if that you're the right candidate or somebody for gifting a knife, that's something to keep in mind. So there's definitely, this is good steel. Some people get a little crazy over some of the different kinds of steel out there and what's this and which kind is that, but it's a good quality steel that's used in a lot of different kind of kitchen cutlery and outdoor applications as well. So what they've done is taken this steel and they put soft stainless cladding over it, and that cladding has kind of a random hammered pattern to it, and then kind of a cloud finish to the blade grind down towards the edge, so you can clearly see where the grind starts coming off of that hammered pattern down to the edge steel. And then that shinier part, that darker part there, is the edge steel, the core steel I should say. Let's see here. So again, all stainless construction. The weight and dimensions on these can vary a little bit from knife to knife, but this particular one is 169 grams or 6 ounces. The edge length is about 185, so it's a fairly long knife for Santoku, and it's about 7.3 inches on the edge itself. Overall length, they're right about 12 inches on the money. Spine thickness, I got about 1.9. It's a little hard to measure with the hammering on going right up there. And you can also see the hammering. They left the spine with some of those dimples in it based on the hammered. So that's kind of cool. So it's not just a flat, straight spine. They've left that in there for some interest. So that's pretty interesting. But it's pretty much the same thickness all the way down, about 1.9 millimeters. And not a lot of taper to it at all. It just pretty much starts tapering in thickness when you get to the grind. Again, it's very easy to see right here. And then let's get our camera to focus here. There's your tip. So it actually thins out quite a bit towards the tip. That's a pretty thin tip, folks. You get some meat behind it, so it'll still be a balance between that thin tip and a little meat back here as far as performance goes. But that tip is pretty doggone thin. So you'd have to take a little care with that. It's a little bit more delicate than if it had some more meat behind it. And here is the edge. So they've actually ground this down pretty thin at the edge as well. The blade has a fair amount of stiffness to it, so it's a nice kind of feel on the board. And blade height is about 44.6 on this sample, so not super tall. Handle, this one is definitely, and maybe my sheet's wrong here, but they say red sandalwood. I might have mistyped that in there, but this has definitely not a reddish pattern at all. It's more of a kind of a grayish, brownish. It's probably what they call paca wood, which is just a stabilized wood product. And so there could be some variance here. This is quite a bit different than some of the other ones I've seen. They have a more reddish, kind of brownish flavor or color to them. This is a full stainless steel tang handle, western handle or yo handle, stainless rivets, and then a pinned-on bolster. Fit and finish is nicely done on the blade. They've relieved just a little bit of the corners of the spine and a little bit on the choil. So you might want to do a little bit more if it's objectionable. I think it'd probably be okay for most people here. Balance point is, this blade's a little thicker, so that's going to bring the balance point forward a little. So there is your balance point right at the back of the blade here. This is called the choil right there. Pinch grip, that's going to have the handle be a little kind of handle heavy because it's a little in front of that balance point. Racket grip will be a bit more neutral depending on how you like to work with your knife. Let's do our beauty shot here. You might find that this finish sometimes can get a little, this part here, the gray part, can get a little grabby on wet product. So as you use this knife and kind of wear down the finish a little bit and smooth it out, it should do that less and less. So you might find wet product can be a little sticky on here and a little grabby until you get to use it for a while and wash it and dry it and hit it with the towel and stuff and kind of smooth that out a little bit. So might be something that takes a little time. You do have hand engraved kanji on here, which is pretty cool. You do not see that as often as you used to. So a little unusual. It's a neat feature. So it's hand chiseled or hand engraved. It's a little hard to pick up. Hopefully you're catching that. So that's on the left side of the knife. There's your hammered pattern. And there's your core steel. This is the right side of the blade as you'd be using it. What else here? Edge, I'll give it a 6 out of 10 for the out-of-box edge. It has a pretty nice edge on it. Decent amount of polish to the edge, not super coarse like some of the knives I've been seeing in this batch that Mark sent. So let's take a look at it on the board. So this is what the profile looks like. This is a fairly long Santoku. So Santoku typically has a sheep's foot kind of tip to it, so you can see the tip is fairly low in relation to the overall blade height. And so I'm not generally going to rock these real high, but I can get fairly high on this one on a rock, and it kind of flows smoothly into the back part of the blade, into the heel. So it's just a very smooth transition all the way down, no jumps or bumps on it. So it's a nice kind of low amount of belly all the way through. And so this will chop quite nicely in the back half. Push-pull cuts would be great. This will do tip draws really nicely through product as well. So pretty versatile profile. So there you have an all stainless knife with a good quality core steel on it with some visual interest to it. This is the Tsunehisa AUS8 Tsushime or hammered Santoku 180mm knife.